There's a version I ordered where she like, you know, when you see that kick happen, she goes straight through the tank, and as soon as she lands, another tank shoots at her, and then she just kind of looks. She grabs the leg off of one take, like she rips it off and kind of uses it as like a knife, and then she's repeatedly stabbing the other tank over and over and over again. And you just see like metal chunks when you're working on a show. And sometimes it takes just a certain episode to get there, and we go, okay, we got it. For the audience, we just knew as long as we were telling engaging stories, it was gonna work for the audience.
Out there, do you think 2D still has the same appeal for audience as it used to be?
It should. That's what I feel like it should. It should have that same appeal. The evolution of 2D is interesting because I love watching any animated show on cells. I think it was the first show for a lot of us that we got to see in real time how people enjoyed it. And so if fans are just like, oh no, not another, it's just like, hey, wait, because those stories are always crafted. You know, they're always crafted by people.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to Prolific Perspectives. This is Kamal Hassan, your host and founder of Prolific Animation Studio. We are all about exploring innovation, entrepreneurship, and how to be successful. Today we have an amazing guest with us, a director with Warner Bros. Animation, Matthew Bordenave. Hey Matthew, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good.
Matthew, thanks for joining us. Please give your brief introduction to our audience so they'll know more about you.
Yeah, my name is Matthew Bordenave. I've been working in animation since 2012, I believe. My first show was Young Justice season 2, which I think the nickname or the code name for it was Invasion. I started as an ink and paint artist and then worked my way through those ranks, which isn't typical. Most people who are ink and paint artists end up just being color stylists, and that could lead to art directing as well in some cases. But you know, I went from paint, storyboard cleanup, storyboard revision, storyboard artist, and in between some of those positions, I've also worked as a character design cleanup artist, keyframe animator, character layout, but then did storyboards, and now I'm currently directing on a new WB animated series.
Great, great. So when you think of animation, what do you believe is the greatest power in storytelling? Or is it the visuals, the characters, or something else?
I think it's a combination. By the way, that was a really good question. Like it's not an easy one to answer at this moment, but I think it's a combination of everything. I think like animation is teamwork. So if the scripts
Absolutely.
are written well, you have solid artists in terms of story design, and all that coming together to make something. So I don't think it's one thing specifically, but like all the right pieces put together to
Coming
make.
together. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So what's your favorite animated character other than your own creations, of course, and what makes them stand out to you?
I'm trying to think of stuff that I've worked on that I really enjoyed doing. And I think for Invincible Fight Girl, which is a series I directed a couple years back. I mean, it finished
Uh-huh.
airing in November, I believe. But I loved all those characters in that show. It was really fun to bring, Andy, Craig, and Mikey, and then the other side characters that we were developing as well. And that one was more fun because all these characters were new, and so it's just like when you work on something like a Batman, everybody has notes on what Batman is supposed to be like. But when you're like, working on something that is fresh and new, it's, oh,
Uh-huh.
what can we add to this character to make them likable, believable, or have the audience be empathetic to these characters. So I would say Fight Girls, most of those characters in that show, if not all, have been my favorite to bring to
That makes
life.
sense. That makes sense. So if I talk about X-Men 97 really bring back that 90s vibe, but it still feels fresh today. When you were working on storyboards, how did you go about mixing that old school look and mixing modern techniques? And what challenges came up to make sure it still clicked with today's audience?
We kind of had a meeting in the beginning, kind of laying down, or not a meeting, but there was a conversation about honoring the original series in terms of visual storytelling, and then we knew we were going to modernize the action. So that was the already and knowing who we had on the board team, we knew what that meant. We all came from action adventure shows. Some of us came
Mm-hmm.
from Warner Brothers. We knew how like what that modern visual flavor would be. I think as
Mm-hmm.
we kept working on the show, the visual
Mm-hmm.
storytelling evolved in different areas.
Mm-hmm.
And especially if the goal was like we have to make the powers um, look cool and unique in a way that we haven't seen before. It allowed us to explore a lot of different things, and then the way that the scripts were written themselves, it allowed
Uh-huh.
us to explore characters' emotions,
Mm-hmm.
which aided into storytelling as well. I think first seasons always have a difficulty, and there's always a challenge with that. You're trying to find the language, and it just
Mm-hmm.
takes time to figure that out. And luckily, the schedule was um, gave us that time. And so
Mm-hmm.
I would just say the difficulty is always just kind of like what is the visual language for this show or
Mm-hmm.
just any like when you're working on a show like
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes it takes just a certain episode to get there, and we go, okay, we got it. And then, for the audience, we just knew as long as we were telling engaging stories, uh, it was going to work for the audience. I mean, that's what I believe. I can't speak
Uh-huh.
for everybody, but as long as the
Mm-hmm.
storytelling or the stories themselves were engaging, then people would enjoy and for the most part, those characters stay true
Mm-hmm.
to who they are in that original series. So I think that was the other thing is just making sure the characters stay true. And I think having the original, as much as the original
Mm-hmm.
voice cast as we could get back, definitely aided in
Mm-hmm.
that as well.
All right, that makes sense. So that big fights between X-Men and Trek's Prime Sentinel in Episode 7 really stood out. It felt classic but fresh at the same time. What was it like for you working on that scene?
So we're talking about the Rogue one, right? Where Rogue is like fighting the army of people. That one I knew where to take things immediately when I got the script, which was written by JB Ballard. And I knew what the intent was based off of the previous episode. And so I knew like Rogue is coming in and she hasn't had enough time to,
Mm-hmm.
deal with the feelings that she had felt. And so I think
Mm-hmm.
I wanted that scene to be more of like her getting her frustration and anger out because she
Mm-hmm.
hasn't really got an opportunity to
Mm-hmm.
um, deal with those emotions. And then I wanted to escalate the events that were
Mm-hmm.
happening in the fight as well. And so for
Mm-hmm.
me, it's like she's taking on one tank at a time, but one tank is doing something slightly different from the other, and then the way that she handles that tank is slightly different from the other. There's a
Mm-hmm.
version I boarded where she like, when you see that kick happen, she goes straight through the tank, and
Okay.
then she lands, and as soon as she lands, another tank shoots at her, and then she just kind of looks. She
Mm-hmm.
grabs the leg off of one take, like she rips it off and kind of uses it as like a knife and
Mm-hmm.
and then she's repeatedly stabbing the other tank over and over and over again. And you just see like metal chunks and
Mm-hmm.
stuff just coming out, and just it was just to kind of showcase like that
Mm-hmm.
unresolved uh, frustration and anger that she has at the loss of what happened to
Mm-hmm.
her, both with Genosha and the people that she loved. So like
Mm-hmm.
uh, just trying to make things resonate with the audience in terms of the action should aid in where she's at emotionally. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think you want to make things visually clear by shooting wide enough to see things and then just knowing when to cut in on shots. And I think that's why it has a little bit of that both because a lot of older shows that we've
Mm-hmm.
seen they shoot the
Mm-hmm.
action wide enough for people to track.
Uh-huh.
And so now what you want to do is make sure that you want to move the camera around a little bit more, and whether that's rotating the camera around Rogue or cutting in on Rogue a little bit more, having some insert shots, which is shot variety versus the stuff that we've seen. And so that's why it probably
Mm-hmm.
has that feeling of both old
Mm-hmm.
and new.
So coming to my next question, so you work across almost all the seasons of Young Justice, which means you saw the show evolve and develop so many characters and storyline over time. Looking back, were there any particular characters or episodes you really enjoyed working on, or moments that stand out to you from your time or on the series?
Yeah, I came in season two, and in season two I wasn't a story artist, so I wasn't involved too much in story. Um, and so season three and four became the one that I was more involved in, and
Mm-hmm.
every season there's an episode that I was like, oh man, I can't wait for people to see this one, or
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, this one was fun to work on. I think
Mm-hmm.
Artemis being my favorite character of that series, I enjoyed any time I got to,
Mm-hmm.
storyboard something with Artemis, and so I know, I think season four we have an episode where it's Artemis, Cassandra, and
Mm-hmm.
Onyx, and I really had fun with that one. But anytime I got to explore Artemis's
Mm-hmm.
character, that
Mm-hmm.
was always fun for me. I thought the way that Greg and Brandon re-envisioned that character was a lot of fun to
Mm-hmm.
play with in terms of
Mm-hmm.
exploring who she is and what her roles are and responsibilities are. I think me and my storyboard partner Christina Soda, who
Mm-hmm.
is a supervising director on Cape Crusader, we had a lot of
Mm-hmm.
fun when it came to storyboarding
Mm-hmm.
the team that we seen in season one, right? Like anytime we got
Yeah.
to do team, that specific team, it was fun for us. So I always enjoyed those stories as well, and it was
Mm-hmm.
cool to see. Rarely do we get a lot of shows where we get to see our main characters mature and grow up. So it
Mm-hmm.
was it was cool to see that Young Justice is like, we don't really get to see that often in our animated shows, but yeah, I think
Mm-hmm.
that was always fun.
All right, so coming back to X Men 97, when Marvel announced X Men 97, a lot of fans were skeptical. Some felt it might ruin the original, but when it came out, it was a huge hit. We saw a similar thing with Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider Man. What's your take on that kind of fan reaction and this trend of reviving classic animated shows with a modern twist?
I'm a little selfish because I now get the opportunity to work on the stuff that I grew up on, so I'm all for it. I can see as a fan, you're like, oh, I want something new, and I'm like, same, I do. I want something new too, but I didn't get a chance to work on these things, and I want every opportunity to get to work on that. I think I've seen it in everything. Fans are always going to have that initial reaction, and it's always
Absolutely.
not going to be a positive one. And then once they see it, they're like, oh, this is very enjoyable. And so you just kind of have to you just kind of have to wait and see and then judge afterwards. I knew X-Men was going to be this thing that like that franchise had been dormant for years. We had no X-Men movies for a while, and so you have to get it right. And I can
Yeah.
tell like the expectations were probably like, yo, don't mess this up. But like
Mm-hmm.
we knew, or at least I was confident in the show that we were making was going to be
Mm-hmm.
one this because I was a big fan of the series. Like I'm so me being
Okay.
a big fan as and David Maximo, who was also a big fan, who also worked on the show, we knew that like this version is going to be something that people enjoyed.
Uh huh.
I didn't anticipate how much people were gonna enjoy. I knew people were gonna like it, but like,
Uh huh.
it was always cool to see like every time an episode aired, like what
Mm-hmm.
scenes people really enjoyed and really liked and um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I got to work on that Cyclops sequence. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I did that whole warehouse sequence where they're
Uh huh.
rescuing Roberto. But
Uh huh.
people really love that Cyclops sequence and I was getting tagged in it a
Mm-hmm.
lot on stuff because um
Mm-hmm.
I worked on it and then it was cool to see that reaction and like people just kind of
Mm-hmm.
losing their shit with that scene and I wasn't expecting that when I had boarded it and I don't think
Uh huh.
um most of us were, so it was I think it was the
Mm-hmm.
first show for a lot of us that we got to see in real time how people enjoyed it. And so
Uh huh.
if fans are just like, oh no, not
Mm-hmm.
another, it's just like, hey, wait, because those stories are always crafted, they're always crafted by
Absolutely.
people that
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
it.
Uh huh. Great. So, coming to another question, you have worked on so many 2D animation projects over the years. how do you feel 2D animation is evolving today, especially with all the new tools and styles out there? Do you think 2D still has the same appeal for audience as it used to be?
It should. That's what I feel like it should. It should have that same appeal. I don't know. I mean, the
Uh-huh.
evolution of 2D is interesting because I love watching any animated show on
Mm-hmm.
cells. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I was watching Evangelion last night, and I was just like, it looks so good on cells. And I think when
Mm-hmm.
you have certain limitations, it
Mm-hmm.
produces great works in a weird way. And 2D has evolved into this point where, like I don't know. I'm kind of enjoying more of the older stuff. I know really good compositors that can make
Mm-hmm.
2D shine and make it look like, way better than what it used
Mm-hmm.
to before on the visual aspect.
No. Mm-hmm.
I think like I don't know. I think we kind of reached our I don't want to say we that's not fair to say that we reached our limitations, but we've kind of gotten a good groove and rhythm
Uh-huh.
of 2D and so like what else can we explore? I think we have to
Mm-hmm.
wait for the next type of technological advancement to explore what those
Mm-hmm.
things are because you saw in Beauty and in the Beast of like what they were able to do with that, right? With the scene where they're like dancing in that ballroom, and it's like, okay, now we're able to
Mm-hmm.
animate 2D and put CG backgrounds and move the stuff around. And there's a lot of cool stuff
Mm-hmm.
that I think Ranking Kings has done.
Mm-hmm.
And then even with other animes like Chainsaw Man and stuff like that. And so um I don't know. I wish we'd have more 2D animated features, if anything. I know Gendy's
Uh-huh.
got he's got one coming
Mm-hmm.
out. But I would love to see, at
Mm-hmm.
least within the US, I would love to see more 2D animated movies. I think
Mm-hmm.
we haven't, like, for example, Dragon Ball Super Broly, like they found like a nice like 2D look that everybody's like,
Yeah.
damn, I can't wait to see more of this. And then they go
Mm-hmm.
superhero and it's CG, and you're like, what the hell? Like we found a visual interesting look, and then you
Yeah.
went away for it. So I think yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. I just think like we're gonna always push the limits.
Yeah.
But I think we've gotten to a nice rhythm, and then whatever that next advancement
Mm-hmm.
is gonna push 2D even more. So right now
Mm-hmm.
we're only playing with the two things, which is like
Mm-hmm.
animating on paper and then working that within a CG
Mm-hmm.
background, and how does that give us more room and space to play with on a visual level in terms of where you put the camera. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that answered your question, but
It
like,
does. It does. It
yeah.
does. It
Okay.
does.
Okay.
So if I talk about AI, the industry is evolving with AI, but animation still feels so personal. What's your opinion on the role of AI in animation, and how do you think it will shape the future?
I don't. I think AI is they're putting a lot of money into it, and so it's not going to go away at this moment. It hasn't been figured out yet in a way that of like how do you implement it in a pipeline, which is good because I don't want it in the pipeline because it would take opportunities and jobs away in certain fields.
Don't you think?
The
Don't you
thing
think? Don't you think? The right perspective for AI would be, it will help us to improve the pipelines, not exactly replacing people. Because sometimes we face a lot of challenges in the pipeline and the renderings and
Mhm.
final outputs. Maybe these tools would help optimize the pipelines, minimize the timelines, making sure the delivery early comparatively, of the deliverables that we do right now. So what do you think? I don't think it's
I
going to
don't.
replace us or replace anyone uh, when it comes to the resources or people who are working in the animation industry.
I think in a way it
Hmm.
can be used as a tool to help the structure of things.
Yeah.
But in America, that is never the role with anything, right? Like in America is you want to pay people less. You want to remove as many people out of the way as possible to make the most
Hmm.
money. Like if you go in the grocery store now, there's more like aisles where you can check out yourself
Yeah.
versus someone behind the counter. So the goal is always, sadly,
Hmm.
because this is a business, is to how do we hire less people
Mm-hmm.
What can we do so that and if like I before we had this conversation, there's a magazine, I forget which magazine, where they have AI
Mm-hmm.
models in there. And you're like, oh, so now you guys don't want to pay models, you don't want to pay photographer, you don't want to pay
Mm-hmm.
whatever all the people you would take to have a photo shoot. Instead, you'll just generate it. And that's the direction they want to go. So the smart way would be,
Uh-huh.
hey, like like what we've seen in Netflix is where they kind of use AI to like if you change
Yeah.
the language, then they have the like the
Yeah.
mouth change. So you're like, that's a
Mm-hmm.
cool and useful way to utilize the technology. And all I can see it is someone
Yeah.
going, I don't want to pay a Viz dev artist. So
Yeah.
I rendered this myself, and then we'll pass it off to the next phase. Or I don't want to pay a prop
Mm-hmm.
designer, so I'll just fucking go to Midjourney and like make a car, and then
But
so
but but you know, Midjourney, and other big AI tools, they're facing already a lot of problems. The lawsuits against Midjourney, Universal Studio, Disney, and everyone filing a lawsuit because there'll be IP issues. And in all my podcasts and all my interviews, and whenever I go to the networking events, we all talk about the IP issues because AI is getting us the collective data, right? Whatever
right.
is inserted so far into the AI, that we are getting the output accordingly. So I think, maybe next 10, 15 years, that's going to take AI to get us something different where we won't be facing any IP issues. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think what they're trying to do is they're
Mm-hmm.
suing, and then at some point Disney might create their own. You know what I mean? They'll create their own way to generate all that stuff, and this company or that company will create their own way to generate, and that way they don't have to deal with that stuff. Who knows? I know that, they're putting a lot of money into the technology, but they haven't
Mm-hmm.
really tried to solve how the technology could be useful in a way that can be beneficial. It's useful in a
Uh-huh.
way on a financial sense of
Mm-hmm.
like how less money we can spend on something, and it needs to
Mm-hmm.
be looked at in a way like you said, it's like how do we integrate this that it can be beneficial. And the other problem with that inherently is build a bigger schedule.
Mm-hmm.
You have less problems if there's more flexibility in the schedule. But if we're trying to rush
Mm-hmm.
things out as fast as possible, you're going to create all these
Mm-hmm.
problems, right? And so
Makes
the
sense.
sol
Yeah.
like yeah, like the easier solution, honestly, is bigger schedule. And then we wouldn't have like we wouldn't have so many problems where we need these things, and nobody want because that costs money. So
Yeah.
there's that aspect of it as well. But yeah.
All right. So, with all the iconic franchises you have worked on, which one are you most excited to continue working with in the future, or is there any new project you are particularly excited about?
Like I haven't done a Spider-Man project. I mean, I've done, you know what I mean? I've done Ultimate Spider-Man and I've done Marvel Spider-Man. Let me rephrase that. I haven't done a Miles Morales Spider-Man, and I would love to work on that at some point and someday. Like I know Spider-Verse is going on. I have friends working on it. Can't wait to see that. But Miles would be a cool character. I feel like I had a great time on all the shows that I've worked on, and
Uh huh.
unless there's a newer take, I'm okay, you know?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And so I think the DC show that I'm working on right now, we have a fresh take on all these characters, and it's been really fun to kind of like figure these
Mm-hmm.
characters out and explore them. And if we do our part, if we do everything right, it becomes something that is as enjoyable as the other DC shows that were made, like Teen Titans and Justice League
Mm-hmm.
Unlimited and stuff like that. And so I'm very happy to be a part of this project along with the team. I'm excited for Starfire. I have friends that work on Starfire. That would be a fun show to work on as well. I've seen what they're doing down there. I'm just like, oh man, I
Mm-hmm.
can't wait for people to see that. I think Brienne Drew Hart and Austin
Mm-hmm.
Rankins and the rest of that crew are doing phenomenal work down there. John Suzuki, Brian Newton, Kiki
Mm-hmm.
Manrique, just to name a few people that I know that are killing it on that show.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
as for myself, you know, like if I could do something, like I would love to try to bring certain things that we haven't seen in the type of shows that get
Mm-hmm.
made nowadays. I think
Mm-hmm.
Japan runs the market on sports anime, and to be
Absolutely.
a country that kills it in the Olympics, to be a country in which basketball is huge and football
Yeah.
is huge, and we
Mm-hmm.
don't have those type of shows, we don't tell those type of stories. It's kind of
Yeah.
odd to me. I see like Bleacher Report does these like anime inspired things every NBA season.
Mm-hmm.
ESPN has anime inspired graphics when certain events happen, and you're like, this is
Mm-hmm.
something that nobody's really tapped in to it, and I don't know why. And I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
kind of do know why. I can't explain on this in this interview there. I don't want to reveal too much, but like it's just a weird thing that
Mm-hmm.
we shy away from, or we're
Mm-hmm.
avoiding for whatever weird reason. But if it is to be done, they always kind of
Mm-hmm.
turn it into like a comedy instead. And then go
Yeah.
watch the first Slam Dunk, where it's like the drama itself is
Mm-hmm.
the sport, and
Mm-hmm.
the characters and stuff like that. Go watch Haiku, and the drama itself is
Yeah.
just winning. Like the drama is just like, damn, we want to win this
Yeah.
match, and everything
Absolutely.
the stress that comes with it. So
Mm-hmm.
for us, I think if you try to make they would try to turn it into a Ted Lasso, which is fine. Ted Lasso is a great show,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like the drama could be the sport itself and the characters and the
Mm-hmm.
what, how you explore those characters. Like that's important. And so like if I could do something, it would be that. Like I think again, I've enjoyed all the IPs and superhero stuff that I've done, but like
Mm-hmm.
it'd be cool to explore these other things that we haven't really done. And Fight Girl was a little
Okay.
bit of that because it was
Mm-hmm.
wrestling, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But like, yeah, let's like really push that more.
Great.
Again, I don't
Great.
know if that answered your question. I think I just went on a rant.
It
But
does.
yeah, yeah.
All right, so coming to my last question, what's been the most rewarding part of your career so far? Whether it's the big moment or the small wins, we want to know what drives you.
It's funny. I was talking to a friend this morning about something, and he made a comment. He's
Mm-hmm.
like, "There's artists that just say, I just want to draw." I'm one of those artists that just like, I just want to draw.
Uh huh.
And my drive is simple. Like, it's just that. It's just like, what can I do to draw? And then
Mm-hmm.
with that itself is, the challenges that come with that,
Mm-hmm.
which is like, I just want to draw. And it's like, okay, can you storyboard the scene? Can you convey
Mm-hmm.
these things and all that stuff like that? And then it becomes
Mm-hmm.
like, the challenge is, can this scene that I'm working on
Mm-hmm.
hit these things that are expected of me from my director,
Mm-hmm.
my supervisors and director,
Uh huh.
um, or the producers, right? If I'm a board artist, as a director, can I guide the team so it can hit
Mm-hmm.
these points that
Mm-hmm.
everyone is want, or can it elevate higher than what they want and what they expect? And so
Mm-hmm.
that's always a fun thing. Or a thing that I enjoy. I think just getting up to draw and getting paid to draw is cool. And
Mm-hmm.
then, being able to craft stories with the hopes that people enjoy the stuff that you're making is also a plus too.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I think, the big stuff, I don't know, I don't think too far ahead on big stuff. I kind of take things like one
Mm-hmm.
thing at a time. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm never thinking bigger picture all the time. It's just like, all right, what do I have to do? All right, I'll get this done, move on to the next
Mm-hmm.
phase, and then if
Uh huh.
people enjoy it, great,
Mm-hmm.
and so I don't know. It just it's always, what can you do to make this fun for you when you're giving these opportunities, and how do you make it fun for everybody else involved?
Mm-hmm.
And then the other aspect of it is like, what can you learn or what can you teach? And
Mm-hmm.
because now I'm at the point where I'm working with people much younger than me. When I came in, I was the young kid, and so then it's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, how do I help them in the
Mm-hmm.
areas that's going to help them progress more in this industry?
Mm-hmm.
And so um, yeah, I think, like I kind of said, it's just like, I think that what keeps me going or what keeps me up is just like, I just want to draw, and then whatever those opportunities that allow me to draw, and then
Mm-hmm.
what those things that I need to draw, I think that's enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like it's like small.
Great.
But that
Great.
was, all these questions have been great, but that was like, man, that was a really good one.
Great, great. Thanks for tuning into another episode of Prolific Perspectives. We hope you enjoyed this insightful conversation with Matthew Bordenave. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Until next time.